What's up, everybody? I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. Welcome to the Line Movement NBA show. We're powered by BlitzBet. Easy for me to say. You should be powered by BlitzBet too. BlitzBet.eu. Joining me, as always, to talk about all things NBA and to bow to the greatness of Luka Doncic, Matt LaMarca. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. This is more my time of day for a podcast. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about, Dieter? This is better for me. But yeah, no, I'm happy to talk some hoops. We finally have our first round 2 matchup in the books, so should be good. Now we've kind of trimmed some of the fat. Now we can get into the real good basketball.
A lot of guys who didn't belong in the bubble getting out of the bubble, and that's a good thing. Those guys are expensive to keep around. They're getting this full Disney vacation. And listen, go home. We can't house you anymore. But we got to talk about a series that's still going on, a series that is hot and heavy now. And when we saw after Game 3, Luka Doncic twist his ankle, we thought, man, this bad boy's over. Like, there's no way the Dallas Mavericks are going to get another game out of this one, much less push it to a minimum of 6. But Luka Doncic plays. Luka Doncic goes off. Luka Doncic hits an all-time game winner, 43 points, and a game-winning 3 in overtime. A little step-back action on Reggie Jackson, who was doing the electric slide. Don't know what the hell that was on defense, but still, we bow in the greatness of Luka Doncic. Matt, we were both pretty bullish on the Dallas Mavericks coming into this. And there's a lot of things that we could really parse out and say, I don't know. I don't know if this thing's going to go 7. But what did you see from Dallas in Game 4, besides Luka's greatness, that maybe gives you a little bit of pause about some of those Clippers futures that I might be holding and you might be holding, and we've maybe advised a lot of people to start holding?
Yeah, I mean it starts with Luka, right? You know,
Yeah,
he's a bad man. Very, very bad man.
unquestionably.
Um I think that I've started to see, you know, the talk on Twitter floating around that he's going to put his name into the GOAT conversation. That feels premature to me.
Pump
You
those
know,
brakes, baby. Pump them up.
the guy, maybe he is going to be in that conversation offensively. I mean, clearly
Yeah,
he is super gifted, but he's just not the same defender as like LeBron or Jordan obviously were. So
obviously, Jordan.
just throwing that out there, but. I thought Trey Burke gave them some good minutes in that game. He was plus
Unquestionably.
17 while he
Shot
was on the court.
71%. Shot 71%, Trey Burke. I mean, that doesn't
Yeah,
feel sustainable, though.
no, it's clearly not sustainable. But you know, it was what they needed. They needed every single one of those buckets in that contest. So again, I'm still on the Clippers. I'm starting to get worried about Patrick Beverley.
Right.
I really like they need him to be at their peak efficiency. They need
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley. He may not be the biggest name on the Clippers, you know, especially when you consider like, oh, they have Lou Williams, they have Reggie Jackson, but
Mhm.
Patrick Beverley just fits so perfectly next to those other big time scorers that the Clippers have already. They don't need Lou Williams to do Lou Williams things because that means that Kawhi Leonard is not doing Kawhi Leonard things.
Right.
So I
Oh, yeah.
think that his just 3-and-D ability is perfect. And of course, the elephant in the room with the Clippers right
Yes.
now is
I was
Paul
about to say.
George.
I was about to say, listen, I firmly believe that a lot of what people say just publicly is mostly projection and usually a negative projection. The whole playoff P thing has backfired in ways that even I didn't foresee. I mean, we're all projecting, we're all trying to push forward narratives, make us feel better about ourselves, but playoff P is taking on a whole different connotation. This dude's lost, and it doesn't look physical to me. It looks entirely mental, which means I have no idea how it gets right.
It gets right by he makes a couple shots. I know that might be oversimplifying things,
Right.
but
Fair enough.
I'm not overly worried about this. You
Okay.
know, like we've seen Paul George in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and he's fine. You know, he almost beat LeBron when he was with the Pacers,
Yep.
like
Yep.
almost single-handedly. He had
That
nobody
one
on that team. The
that one
second best
time.
player was Roy Hibbert, who's not in the league anymore.
It tells you how long ago that was, by the way. Let's
Yeah.
take that into account. Like,
I'm just
everyone talks
saying,
about that one series. That one series was what, like 2016? I mean, come on. It's
hey,
been a
that's
minute.
only 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm
listen,
not
for
I'm
us
not
that's
worried.
nothing, but that was like 20,000 LeBron points ago. It feels like.
It's true.
I'm with you. The dude's got two bum shoulders. He's in his head. He's you got guys on the end of the bench saying that they're having to talk him off the ledge a little bit about being so far in his head about the haters and all this. You see the Instagram post, by the way, wonderful Instagram post saying that I don't care what anyone here says, and then turning off comments. Unbelievable flex by playoff P there. Listen, this has been the guy's knock, and it always seemed overstated, and it probably still is overstated. And I think you're right. Like, it can't be this bad forever. He's just going through a little bit of a slump right now, but it seems accentuated by him getting in his feelings, by him, buying into some of the negative vibes that are thrown his way. And it will get right. I just don't know if he can stave this off again once we get into series where the Clippers really need him. And I don't think this is necessarily that series, though it's going to go on longer than it needs to because he hasn't shown up. But man, next round after that, like Paul George just cannot be a bystander. He at least has to lock in on defense. And I'm not even seeing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, Paul George was only -2 in their last game.
No, yeah.
Uh, Kawhi was -13. So it's not like Paul
He's a
George
bum. Get him out of there.
is killing them. My thing
Yeah.
is just it's the narrative is you can't do something until you do it. Like
Correct.
how many years was the narrative on Kyle Lowry that yeah, he's a good player, but he just can't win the big game. And
Right.
now we think about Kyle Lowry and we're like, "Oh, the guy is just a winner."
We're not that clever.
He
The
just
media is
knows how
not
to
that
win
clever.
basketball games.
What a
So
dude.
the narrative is what it is until it becomes something different. So
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anything that says that Paul George can't just flip the switch. Maybe it
Isn't that
is
everything
something.
with the Clippers flipping the switch?
It's
Just
all about the switch.
it's unbelievable. I'm so annoyed because they are really running up our bill by turning these lights on and off. They don't seem to want to engage. And you're right about Patrick Beverly. You have Reggie Jackson on the floor in crunch time. Something's gone wrong. And then you switch. I don't know what that's about. Doc Rivers has made a couple of pretty smart moves in this series. That is not one of them. Um, they still have the highest ceiling of any team out there. And we can feel good about the Lakers, who, as we speak, are up 80-53 against a Portland Trailblazers team that neither of us believed in whatsoever. But man, the narrative going into tomorrow is going to be Lakers reasserted themselves as the favorites. The Clippers look lost. Houston lost. We'll talk about that in a minute. Eastern Conference, who the hell knows? But if it's always been which LA team is going to win the title going into tomorrow morning, which of course is when the NBA title is determined. Going into tomorrow morning, everyone's going to say it's the Lakers. Why is it still the Clippers in your mind?
Their roster when healthy is the best.
Yeah.
And again, we're now getting into the point where the health is becoming concerning. Because the Doc Rivers made the decision to put Landry Shamet in the starting lineup, right? We lauded him for it. It worked in game 3. In game 4, it did not. Shamet was -15 over 23 minutes. It's hard to win when you have one guy who's just dragging down your team's net rating like that, which is basically what Shamet is doing right now. They need those minutes going to Patrick Beverly. And he's listed doubtful again for game 5. So they're going to be without him once again. I still think that the long-term view of the 76ers is the correct one. But I am starting to get more concerned about the short-term view with
You're
them
saying
not being healthy.
you're saying with the Clippers, because the long-term view of the 76ers with that Freudian slip is bad and getting worse. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I don't know why I've been mixing
That
those
is not,
two teams
that
up.
is not good. That is an unacceptable answer. I understand why you're doing it. They got the same colors, and they're both playing like doo-doo.
Right, and Shamet
what they
played for
should.
both teams.
And Shamet played for both teams. You cannot live and die by Landry Shamet. That is not an NBA championship team. Just in the same way, it's not a championship team when you're living and dying by Kyle Kuzma. This is not excellence personified. So this stuff will get worked out one way or another, maybe in the negative realm for the Clippers. I hold a lot of Clippers futures, so I'm a little bit concerned. But I'm with you. They have the best roster. They need to put it together. Health, you're right. is a big issue. If Patrick Beverley's not in, it's hard for me to see them reaching that ceiling because Kawhi and Paul George have to do it. And by the way, if Paul George gets right, it covers up a lot of holes because listen, all the Clippers need to do in this series against the Mavs is have the two best players on the court. And on Sunday, Luka was the best player on the floor. You just can't have that happen. It's not that Luka's not worthy of that spot. It's that you should have two guys who can get that number one spot. And if you get the number two spot, you're winning in a blowout. And Luka, comes in third, so be it. Luka dominated. He was awesome. Fascinated to see what goes on in game, what would it be, 5 Tuesday night. And what do we have on the line here? The Clippers are laying 6.5 on Blitz Bet there. So clearly the market's still in on the Clippers. I can see why. Again, I don't think Trey Burke's going for 71% from the floor again. Do we know anything about what Kristaps Porzingis is going to do? Do we have the scoop on if Porzingis is going to play in Game 5?
I don't have any scoops. I'm not a scoop man, but I can tell you,
going around like a jerk.
you're more the insider. You're connected.
Yeah.
You know the league people.
Much like playoff P, I'm projecting right now because I should have this information. I should have a text telling me what's going to go on, and I don't. So I'm hoping that you had it because one of us should have, and it was probably me.
Well, right now I'm seeing that Porzingis is game time decision.
Ooh.
Still dealing with a sore knee.
So how would you feel about that 6.5? You're not a money line guy, but you can get the Mavericks at plus 220. We'll get it. I mean, it totals 235.5, which I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, if I don't know because you got the two best players on the Mavericks who are injured. I mean, if it goes bad, it's going to get real ugly real fast, and they're going to bench those guys, and now your total's totally screwed. So, how do you feel about the Clippers laying 6.5? Though, does that tantalize you at all?
I always like to look and just compare the number to what it was previously, right?
Yes, you do.
So, this Clippers team was favored by, I want to say it was 8.5 in the last game, and
right.
It might have even gotten higher once it became known that Porzingis wasn't going to play.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're getting it at 6.5, I obviously think that the value is on the Clippers here. I'm still buying the long-term success of Paul George in the playoffs. I'm expecting him to not shoot 25%. So if we get that, if we get Kawhi, if Luka and Trey Burke normalize a little bit, I think that the Clippers are the correct bet here.
To be fair, this might be normal Luka. I'm just throwing that out there. Trey Burke's normalizing, but this might be the day in, day out Luka. The kid's unbelievable, and I'm sure that everyone in Sacramento is real just still fuming about that. I mean, just being proximate to Sacramento, and it's like, what are you doing? The kid was EuroLeague MVP at 18. Like, come on, like let's just take that guy and figure it out later. Let's talk about two teams that took care of business on Sunday before we transition into Monday's games, and then looking forward a little bit more. And I want to talk about the Raptors because obviously we have a great Canadian audience here at Line Movement, and we love them very much. And we're not talking enough Raptors because the Brooklyn Nets make us sad, and we don't like getting sad here on the Line Movement NBA show. But now we got something to talk about. Now we got a series here, baby. A series where a team is not going to put 150 points on the board before sending a team to Cancun. The Celtics take care of business against the 76ers. The 76ers are a big, fat, hot mess. They fire Brett Brown today, reportedly. The Celtics, listen, it did not get put together in its entirety, but the flashes that they had were spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And Kemba Walker looked awesome in that series. The Sixers had no answer for him. Then again, they don't have a lot of answers for anything. And the Raptors just absolutely taking care of business, running a Nets team that had no business being in the bubble, even though they were a playoff team, just running them off the court, dropping $150 on them yesterday. Here's what I was interested in. I was interested in the series line for this Celtics-Raptors series, which I think is just going to be a barn burner. I am amped to watch every single minute of this series. There's not going to be I'll catch the highlights later bone in my body for this series. Raptors favored at minus 150 in some books. The lines aren't up everywhere. That could go. I feel like that's a pretty good barometer, though. I don't feel like we're going to get too far away.
The Raptors are going to be favored.
No question.
The Raptors are going to be favored.
What do you like in this series? How do you feel about that?
I mean, we've talked a bunch, and
that's what we do.
Yeah, we like to talk. We're talkers.
We're
I
talkers.
think that the Raptors are probably a bit overvalued right now.
Okay. I'm
I
with
know they look great against the Brooklyn Nets.
you.
Congratulations.
LaMarca and I
Congratulations.
are given 20 minutes for the Brooklyn Nets. So we had to hustle back to our respective locations because we had to get out of the bubble. We were the backup centers.
Right. They were thin to begin with. Then they lost Joe Harris after game 2, and that was just the final nail in the coffin.
They
So
they brought their bags onto the floor. They rolled their wheelie suitcases onto the bench before game 4. They put their little Mickey Mouse wristbands in a bucket and just went straight to a plane. They were so ready to leave, and you saw that. I mean, we've been saying offenses have been great during this bubble season, this bubble playoffs. The Raptors offense was absolutely spectacular. Again, 150 points in that game. So you're right. It'd be unfair, I think, to judge the Raptors really off of that series because it's just going to build up expectations too high. Everyone in the NBA should have been able to give the Nets the business the same way the Raptors did. The Raptors, credit to them, took care of business, played it like pros, played it like the defending champs. But I don't know if that was a very high bar for them to get over. I would have expected this performance.
right. And I think that when you look at their matchup versus the Celtics undoubtedly have the best player in the series,
And
and
who's
that
that?
is Jason Tatum.
Okay.
Jason Tatum, just the absolute. He's a top 10 NBA player right now in terms of his two-way impact on the game. He's a go-to scorer on one end. He's an excellent defender on the other end.
Hmm.
And I think as a general rule of thumb, anytime you can get the best player in a series as
Yeah.
an underdog, it's a pretty appealing wager. And it's not like the rest of the Celtics roster are bums.
No,
There's some
no,
good
they're good.
players there. You mentioned Kemba Walker.
Awesome.
I've been pretty impressed with the way that Daniel Tice has been playing
Yes.
against Joel Embiid. Obviously they probably don't need him as much in
Right.
this series against the Raptors. Although
Give him
Serge
some
Ibaka's been
Marcus.
playing pretty
Give him
good.
some Ibaka minutes. Give him some Marcus All minutes. I mean, the Raptors will throw a center out there. Don't get me wrong. So we'll see with Tice. That will be an interesting matchup because Ibaka obviously spaces the floor better than Gasol, but Gasol's not exactly a schlub in terms of spacing the floor. So is Tice willing to go out there? I've seen him do it. Just how long is he viable? Free throw line extended. We'll see. That will be a really interesting matchup. I'm interested to see how that goes down.
Right. And then on the Raptors side, you have to look at the health of Kyle Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
He left their last game. Now, granted, he's got a couple of days to heal up. This series starts on Thursday.
Right.
So it looks like he was diagnosed with a left ankle sprain. Who knows how serious it is? We've seen, Russell Westbrook has missed a bunch of games now
Yeah,
when
a
we didn't
little
really
different.
expect it.
Little
Didn't
different.
really
You're the guy who's like the Rockets are better without Westbrook, and I'm starting to agree with you, even though it's a 2-2 series. Kyle Lowry goes off on the Raptors. They're not better. I mean,
No, absolutely.
Kyle Lowry is the engine that makes that machine go.
I'm just saying that we never know the severity of these things. Like, I
Right.
never would have thought that Westbrook
Right.
was going to miss the first 4 games of that series.
Right. No, good call. Good call. It does seem as
So
if things are lingering a bit more in the bubble.
I'm definitely in on the Celtics at plus 125. Anything better than even money
Yeah.
is a good bet for me.
I mean, obviously, in theory, you're taking the Celtics outright. If it was even money, would you take the Celtics outright?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, everything beyond that is just gravy. You're just getting a little bonus money on the side. How deep do you think this one will go? We don't have,
I think it should be a
breakdowns here.
very competitive series.
Six,
I
6 or 7. What do you think?
Yeah, 6 or 7, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah,
It's tough to fully, do that in these bubble games because
for sure.
there's no home court advantage. Like normally when you like an underdog, you would say, "Oh, I'm going to take them in 6 so they can finish it off at home." If
Right.
it goes 7, now it swings back in the direction of the home team. We don't really have to worry about that
Nope.
in the bubble.
Nope. Pure
So,
basketball.
I think the Celtics in 6 or 7 are both very viable outcomes. I think if the Raptors win, it'll be in 7. So,
Yeah. Okay.
that's
Okay.
that's my thought process. I think the Celtics, but again, I think the Celtics are the better team. I love their roster, even without Gordon Hayward. I wish they had Gordon Hayward, but
Yeah.
they've survived without him. Marcus Smart can just do Marcus Smart things, and
That's what he does.
Jaylen Brown has played well. But again, it all comes back to Jason Tatum, who there was obviously a lot of expectations for Tatum,
Of course.
even after his rookie year. But I don't know if it's fully, if like how well he's playing has fully caught up to the rest of the league yet,
Hmm. Hmm.
or to the casual fan. Like I don't know if people are putting Jason Tatum in that,
Right.
Damian Lillard category yet. And in my opinion, he's 100% in it.
Well, we'll see because the guy that we haven't mentioned yet in this series is Pascal Siakam, and Siakam is a guy who, especially coming off of last year and how great he was and the development, we expected him to maybe take another leap, not just from most improved player to like MVP status. That clearly didn't happen. Not to say that he was in any way bad this year. He just didn't, continue his meteoric rise for another season. But that dude's long and he's sharp. And man, I feel bad for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum because they're going to be getting every minute on the floor. They're going to be seeing Pascal Siakam. So if Siakam can elevate his game, much in the same way that Tatum has elevated his game, that could throw it in the Raptors' favor. It could. So that's the matchup that I'm looking at. There's a lot of really interesting small ones that you want to dive into, and is really going to define the series. But it comes down to wings, baby. I mean, Dieter Wings
The
over here.
Wings League.
It is a wings league. NBA playoff is all about the wings. Who is going to have the better one? Now, I'll say this. I will say this for the Boston Celtics. They got two good options, and if they had Hayward, they'd have three good options. But Brown and Tatum are really good wing options. Siakam is an excellent wing option. Fascinated to see who comes out on top because ultimately, whichever team has the best wing in that series, I think ultimately wins the series. Let's talk about games that are going to happen before Thursday. How about that? Here's an idea.
Sounds like a plan.
The Utah Jazz, I presume, will take care of business and finish off the depressing, we shall never speak about them again, Denver Nuggets, who are an embarrassment and deserve to be rightly shunned across the nation for whatever the hell it is that they've been doing over the last couple of games, just making us all look like fools out here. The Jazz favored by 3 total in this game, 221. I got 2.5 on Blitzbet if you're feeling real bullish.
I mean, the Jazz are just shooting the absolute lights out right now.
Well, it's
They're
easy to do it
effective
when you're playing a team that doesn't play defense.
for sure. I mean, I'm definitely throwing some blame at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Nuggets
It takes 2 to
defense.
tango, baby.
But still, 63.8% effective field goal.
Oh, my
Just
God.
over 4 games. That is
That's
disgusting.
that's James Harden on a heater. That's Steph Curry for an entire offense.
They're shooting nearly 70% at the rim. They're shooting 50% in the mid-range, and they're shooting 45.9% from 3. All of those rank in the top 2 in the playoffs in terms of accuracy.
Better than them. I presume the Raptors, just based on the fact that they were playing the garbage team.
Dallas has been slightly better at the rim.
Well, that
And
makes
then
sense.
Utah is first in mid-range and three-point shooting.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, this Denver defense. We talked about it on the last show. I mean, it's embarrassing. And it's like, I want to give the benefit of the doubt to Mike Malone, their coach, but it's very difficult to do so at this juncture because you're right. We talk all the time. Dieter Wings over here. Like, you don't have Will Barton, it's going to look bad. You don't have Gary Neal, it's going to look bad. But like, it shouldn't look this bad. It shouldn't be this easy. Donovan Mitchell is playing against JV guys, it seems, and it's going to take Jamal Murray dropping 50 to stay in it. Jokic, he's lost. I mean, he's still getting up points because it's not like Utah's been putting the clamps down either as of late. But boy, I don't want to watch another game of this series. I don't want it to go 6. Just get it over with, Utah, so that you can then go out in the second round in a gentleman's sweep, because this is bad basketball. I mean, unless you're really, if you're a super casual fan, I'm sure that this is the best basketball you've ever seen. If you know anything about defense, you're offended by this series.
Right, first playoff game in league history where guys on opposing teams each scored 50 points.
I mean, what are we doing
And
here?
I would like to thank Jamal Murray for those 50 points. That
Yeah.
sweet backdoor 3 in that
Yep.
last game.
It did
Oof.
cover. They did. Yeah, well, that's what great teams do. Good teams, they win. Great teams, they cover.
That is true.
How do you feel about the 3 points that the Jazz are laying here? The total, I would just go over on principle. I mean, it feels like both of these teams are going to score more than 110 points total. 221 and a half. I got 220. I got 220 and a half on BlitzBet. If you're not taking the over there, I don't know what we're doing. Matt LaMarca, tell me why I'm stupid.
I mean, the numbers scream regression for these teams. I mean,
You said that
Utah's.
last game.
I know,
They're bad defenses.
I know. Don't hurt me.
I'm sorry.
Utah is outperforming their expected effective field goal percentage by nearly 10 points.
The double E.
And Denver is doing it by 4.5. So theoretically, they shouldn't be making as many shots as they are. But the expected effective does not take into the fact that a lot of these shots are wide open. So
it's I like to
I
tell
don't see
people,
any reason to stop start fading the offense anymore. I mean, Donovan Mitchell went from like a 40% shooter during the regular season to now he's just a 70% shooter in the playoffs.
My favorite
and he
part,
makes everything from 3.
as somebody who's really into the narrative of all of this stuff. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's star and his actual performance was probably the biggest delta of any player in the NBA, in my estimation. The reverence that was had for him compared to actually how good of a player he was just, I could not rectify those two things.
Agreed.
And now Donovan Mitchell goes up against a doggy doo-doo defense for 48 minutes a game. And he's playing like 40 something minutes a game. He's just always out there and just knocking down in an empty gym with the same sight lines, just knocking down 18-footer to 23-footers all day long, getting to the rim with impunity. They're paving a path for him. They're rolling out a red carpet in the lane. It's the only color on the court. Like he is going to get that narrative to go even higher now. People are going to be like, everyone who was trashing Donovan Mitchell is proven wrong because he played the Denver Nuggets. Fade him. Fade him so hard because he's going to play a real NBA team that decided to show up for the playoffs in the next round, and he is going to get some clamps put up on him. And the Utah Jazz have no other options. 0, nil, nada. They need Donovan Mitchell to score 50 points per game. And if that's not a reason to fade the Utah Jazz in general and a reason to fade Donovan Mitchell in general, I don't know what is. I can't help you, and we're here to help.
Well said. I mean, I think that the way that Utah has played is going to make them a smaller underdog in their next series than they should be.
Give me that money. Give me that money.
We take advantage. We bet, assuming that the Lakers and the Clippers come out of their series, which again, the Clippers, maybe they do, maybe they can lose. They can lose, but I'm still gonna pencil them in temporarily.
Yes, sir.
If the Jazz has to play one of those two teams, it's not going to end well for them.
A series that's been really good to watch and kind of enjoyable, all things considered, is this Oklahoma City Houston series. And it's been flapping every which direction in the wind. I mean, you just can't seem to get a read on this bad boy. We get 3-point variance to the utmost in this game today. I mean, Houston just could not buy a 3 down the stretch. Oklahoma City puts together a nice, solid performance, a professional win for the City Thunder. And Paul George looking good. Like it's a free for all right now, man. And Houston goes into this game on Wednesday. They're 3-point favorites. Let me see what we can get for them on BlitzBet. 3.5. I mean, we're just getting value here on BlitzBet.eu. 3.5 point favorites. I don't really know where to go with this anymore because I'm tired of betting on a team that's going to put up this many threes. And frankly, maybe it just all comes back, and that regression means that they're going to knock down 20 in a row, and the City Thunder aren't going to know what happened to them.
Yeah,
but
I
man,
mean,
it's stressful.
The shooting numbers, the Rockets were pretty good from 3 today.
I know.
They were
I know.
just under 40%,
39.7%.
Yeah. The big problem was they got to the free throw line 10 times.
That ain't going to do it.
10 free throw shots compared to 28 for the Thunder. That's
counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's the difference in the game. So, Dennis Schroeder has been playing great. You got to feel good
Yeah.
for him. Atlanta kind of just was like, yeah, we don't need you anymore now that we have Trae Young, and they just kind of just threw him away. And
Stupid.
Oklahoma was like, all right, thank you, we'll take that.
I
And
know a lot of the administration in Atlanta. Listen, we're starting out. They probably won't hear this. I like a lot of those guys. They're not. It's not going well. What they're doing in Atlanta is not going well, man. I mean, you see Luka balling out, you see Schroeder balling out. But thank God they got Clint Capella. That will fix it. Kevin Huerter's going to go somewhere. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do in the draft, but I think they need to make a move because you cannot continue to suck year in and year out when you've been this aggressive in trying to not suck. Sorry about the Atlanta Hawks aside. This is no place for the Atlanta Hawks. After all, it's the playoffs. If Russell Westbrook indeed comes back for Game 5, do you fade the Houston Rockets here?
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I
that's what I
mean,
thought.
I would hope that the spread would go up a couple of points for that. That's what the
Yeah,
hope would be.
right.
Like if we can get up to minus
Wa-
5.5 for the Rock.
Watch it go down to 2 points.
Well, that would be something.
Vegas would know. Vegas knows, man. Blitz bet knows.
If we got a few extra points, I would very happily take the Thunder. Otherwise, I'm just happy that my futures bets on this team are still alive. We
Yeah.
were pretty bullish on them to win the series, and
Yep.
it didn't look great after 2 games, but
Mhm.
now we're like the Undertaker meme. We're just rising. So
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. Love the 3-guard backcourt for the Thunder.
Looked real
All
good
those
today.
guys playing real well.
Looked real good.
And we talked about that, right? We said
Yep,
that
was the
lineup
That was it.
was going to be very important for the Thunder. That was why I like them so much.
Mhm.
And these past 2 games, at least, that has come to fruition a little bit.
It feels like the Rockets have another gear they can get to, right? I always talk about that, right? Do they have another gear? Can they go another level? If they can get to the line more than 10 times, it feels like that's going to turn the game in their favor. And it had been lopsided in their direction, in my estimation. They didn't look like they wanted to go down. They didn't want to slam it down Oklahoma City's throat this game. They felt passive in this contest, and Harden didn't feel all the way there. Not in the same way that he usually is.
The gear to me is James Harden has to start making some shots.
Seems like a good idea.
He has struggled in particular from behind the 3-point line. He was less than 30% in this series coming into today, and he was 6 for 15 today. So quick math, that's what, 33 and a change, 1/3 roughly. No, that would be fine. Anyway, whatever. He wasn't shooting the ball.
It's bad.
He wasn't shooting the ball particularly well. So the Rockets made up for that because their role players were drilling shots at will.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Ben McLemore and Jeff Green, combining for like 8 threes a game in those first couple. So
Right.
the Jeff Green minutes are finally starting to come back to bite them a little bit. He was minus 13 today on the court.
Yep.
Over 32 minutes.
Live by Jeff Green.
We know that you can live with the Jeff Green, and you can certainly die with the Jeff Green.
It is
so
just living a dangerous lifestyle with the Jeff Green out there. It's just how it goes. You can ask LeBron. I mean, this ain't the Eastern Conference, baby. You can't be having Jeff Green out there for 30 minutes a game. You are playing with fire. All right. We just presume that the Bucks will take care of business against the Orlando Magic and cover the 14 points. Is there any interest in that series anymore?
Yeah, I felt cheated today. I had the under 226 on that game, and the Magic were like, "Oh, let's just foul them like crazy these last minutes. Maybe we can come back from a 14-point deficit with 30 seconds left if we foul them.
My goodness.
Who knows?" And that really hurt me.
Helping out that NBA TV window.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
The Magic are just not a good team. I mean, we've been saying it. They're not good. The Bucks are really good. Let's just move on. I'm ready to see the Bucks play a real basketball team.
I'm with you. I probably wouldn't even bet that game. Just look for value in future rounds. If you got to watch it and you need something to get you through those minutes, look for reasons to bet on player props for whomever they're going to play next. Who do they get next?
It would be Miami.
Miami, who took care of business today and looked pretty good. Miami, who is always out there to make sure your under bets hit. Congratulations to the Miami Heat. That was a rock fight of a series. And listen, they got the two things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for wings, and I'm looking for defensive wings, and I'm looking for wings who can score late in the game. And you can't tell me that the Miami Heat don't have it. They got some championship wings. Andre Iguodala, Jimmy Butler hasn't won a championship, but that is a war daddy player. You want him in crunch time. Like, that dude has it. All things considered, you got Tyler Hero out there. If you need to knock down a three, Dragic, competent point guard. You got Bam, who's just awesome. Like, I'm really feeling good about the Heat, and I think that series against the Bucks, when it comes into fruition, could get real interesting real fast, because Milwaukee, I don't know, man. I haven't had any of the questions about the Bucks that I had going in answered, and I don't know if they could have been answered because they're playing the Orlando Magic. But I don't feel any better about the Bucks today than I did at the beginning of the bubble.
How much did Andre Iguodala pay you to say his name first?
Andre Iguodala is the 2015 NBA Finals MVP, and you will put some respect on that name.
In 2015, I would put some respect on that name. He's fine, but he's not moving the needle for the Heat.
He's not. No, but it's not like he has to. He just needs to get. Here's what Andre Iguodala does, right? Andre Iguodala can be a secondary ball handler in a closing unit, which is good because Dragic can knock down some shots. And so sometimes you're going to want to move him off the ball. And then you don't have to have the ball in Butler's hands, which means that basically everyone knows it's an isolation from the get-go, which is not good basketball down the stretch. He's also a really good defender, and he will get you a turnover somewhere in the final 5 minutes. I don't know how, I don't know where, but he's going to get you one. And that's the Andre Iguodala guarantee. So you just want him on the floor. He just knows how to win basketball games. And by the way, the only time he's ever going to knock down a three-pointer is when the game's on the line. That's just how Andre Iguodala rolls. He does not. Andre Iguodala only gets paid for the final 5 minutes of the game, and he is a very well-paid player. I don't think that's coincidence. He locks in during those periods of time, and I think this is Jimmy Butler's time to shine. I'm very, very, very interested to see what I can get the Miami Heat for in the series against the Milwaukee Bucks, because I don't think there will be a tremendous amount of value there, but I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many times. If it's anything, I don't even want to speculate on what it might be. But when that comes out, we're going to have a very serious conversation about the value there, because I'm starting to feel the heat a little bit.
Well, that makes one of us. I do not think the Miami Heat can beat the Bucks. I do not think that Jimmy Butler deserves to be in the conversation as some of the other wings that we've talked about. Do you know what Jimmy Butler shot from three this season?
Less than preferable.
24.4%.
Yeah, but what is he on mid-range shots with less than 3 minutes to play, which are the only damn
probably pretty good.
He's probably
the problem
pretty good.
is
Those are the only damn shots you're getting in the NBA playoffs. You're right. The problem is that Milwaukee will give you as many three-pointers as you want, and Miami might not be able to make them with their two best wings. But Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson are going to make plenty, and Goran Dragic is going to make plenty, and hell, Kelly Olynyk is going to make many. I'm talking myself into it. I need to, remove myself.
Let's put those guys on the floor. Put Tyler Hero and Goran Dragic and Duncan Robinson and Kelly Olynyk on the floor. How many points is that unit conceding to the Bucks? Like 1,000?
If you throw Goran Dragic at Giannis, if you pick him up and you throw him at Giannis, yes, it'd be a foul, but you do stand a chance of it not being an and one. That's my personal stance. That Eric Spoelstra is a wizard. He will find ways for that trollish little lineup to stop an unstoppable force. I'm certain of it. By the way, the Bucks have looked very easy to defend in this series. It's a shame that the Orlando Magic cannot defend anybody because that would make maybe things interesting. But they've looked predictable, and I don't like predictability, and I don't like Chris Middleton. So
yeah, you can call it predictable, but it has been effective. They're
no question
second in effective field goal percentage. So
yeah, he just Giannis dunks are basically their offense.
Pretty good offense.
It's a pretty good double E You get a pretty good double E when it's Giannis dunking with 3 dudes draped on him, saying, "Please stop, sir. Don't hurt us anymore." Um, yeah, I'm sorry to anyone who has to watch that game. By the way, thank goodness it's not on everyone's cable package because it has been making my eyes bleed over the last couple. We will have another Lakers Blazers game. Don't know why. Feels like this one should pretty much say everything we need to have said. As we speak, Lakers are up 104-82, at least according to the ESPN.com page I have open right now. Let's see if
And
that's still
by
accurate.
the way, that's
Oh, it's
with like
104-80.
that's like with a minute to go in the third quarter.
Yep, that's the third. In fact, I got an alert earlier on my phone that I think it was from Bleacher Report. They missed the quarter. They sent me a halftime score and they said end of third quarter because that's how many points the Lakers had scored. Portland just ran out of gas, and it's not surprising. They were not that good of a team. They were getting by on guile and Dame Lillard deciding to take it personally, Michael Jordan style. And yeah, LeBron James finally figured out that he's much better than everybody else out there, and kind of put it together. And
It's not even just LeBron. It's really been in this series that the Blazers have no answer for
yeah,
Anthony Davis.
yeah,
Uh, I
very
wrote
few
about
teams do.
this today. The Collins injury ended up playing a huge factor in this series because he was the guy, right? He was the
Yes, sir.
guy that was going to guard Davis, but they've tried Nurkic and it hasn't worked.
No.
They've tried now Hassan Whiteside, and that experiment was a disaster. In game 3, with those guys on the court together,
Oh
they
my
had like a
God.
negative 6.5 net rating. And based
Madness
on the
bears.
score from today's game, I don't think that number is going to get better.
It's 110-82. Um,
The only guy who has slowed him down has been Wenyen Gabriel, but he's just so bad offensively that
yes.
it tanks their offense. So there's just no right
Yeah.
answer for how the Blazers should defend AD. AD has crushed them, and that's going to be the difference in this series.
If you had to bet on a line going into that game, I don't see anything up right now. If you had to set a line, what do you think? Lakers by 12, 12 and a half? That's what my
Nah,
gut is.
less than that. Less than
Okay.
that. I mean, they were what, like 6, 7.5 going into today. So I'm gonna say
Yeah, seven and a half.
7.5 going into today. I'm gonna say about 9 to 10, somewhere in that range.
Okay. I'd hit the Lakers. I'd hit it hard. I think
Yeah,
Portland's just gonna. I think Portland might not even play their guys. Just Gary Trent Jr. Go give us 48.
Yeah, I mean Lillard is just that type of dude. He's not going to quit, but the Lakers have basically just taken the ball out of his hands and dared other people to beat them. So
Yeah,
it's going to be real hard for the Trailblazers to win this game. I mean, 10 points if it is in that ballpark is a lot,
yeah,
but
true.
you know, the Lakers, we've talked about it, their ability to score the ball has not been reflected in their scoring totals up until today. They finally
Right.
have started scoring the ball in game 4, but they were third in second in expected effective field goal percentage and just 15th heading into the game. So that is a huge discrepancy. You could drive a Mack truck through that discrepancy.
What
So
did what did I
now
say last show? Todd Gurley could run through that hole.
right now that we have started to see the shots start to fall for the Lakers,
Mhm.
this is what the series, like, this is what they were going to be capable of.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm still not buying the Lakers overall. I feel like this is very similar in many senses to that Buck series against the Magic, where it's like I'm not getting a good read on what the Lakers are based on playing this sub 500 team. I just don't feel like I can crown them champions. But of course, tomorrow morning that will be the entire narrative, and hopefully it changes some lines around, and we can make some money off of it. I'm certain that we will pay attention to that because ultimately that's the game that we are in. Which potential second round matchup here? And listen, there's still some stuff in the balance with the Clippers and the Mavericks and the Rockets and the Thunder. But when you look forward into the second round, what matchup is most tantalizing to you, Matt LaMarca?
Celtics Raptors for
Yeah,
sure
I'm
is
with you.
the answer,
I'm
but I
with you.
think that we're going to get two good series in the West as well.
No question.
You know, the Jazz series, if they match up, I guess they would get the Lakers more than likely
Yes,
as the 6th seed.
they would.
That would be a gift for the Lakers. I think that they should be able to dispatch the Jazz pretty easily, but Clippers versus either the Rockets or the Thunder would be fun. Again, I think the Clippers should win that, but those are two fun teams, two teams that have something that you can, hang your hat on. The Thunder have that one lineup that's got the best net rating in basketball, and the Rockets
Yep,
have James Harden and just a unique style that is kind of tough to prepare for. So
for sure.
I think that's a fun matchup, regardless of who wins that series. The Clippers will get a good test, but again, I think we're looking at Lakers Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, and I
Mhm.
think we're looking at Bucks Celtics in the East. Those are my official predictions.
All right, you're on the board, and I don't have to make predictions because I host the show, and I don't want to set myself up for failure. But Matt LaMarca, you're a brave man, braver than me. Tell the folks what's coming from you on linemovement.com.
Have some more picks coming up. Tomorrow's or Tuesday's article will be up before the games start.
Yes,
We'll be
sir.
hitting on both of those games. I think I will have a breakdown for Wednesday as well. That one will be
Nice.
3 games, so I'll be covering that. And we'll definitely, once we get some second round matchups set up, I will definitely be breaking those down and just giving my general thoughts on the series, the matchup, things to watch for, etc. Similarly to what I did in the first round, where we went through and I listed all my favorite bets in those.
It's a beautiful thing. And you can get it at linemovement.com. If you guys haven't been to blitzbet.eu, do so now. We were reading off some of the lines. There's value to be had, baby. There's value in them Dar Hills. Blitzbet.eu. If you're up in Canada, if you're in the United States, wink, wink, you can find a way. If not, no big deal. We will be back later this week. We are going to wait for some of the NBA action to sift itself out, see what's going to go on, because the schedule, it's very up in the air right now. But, stick with us. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, we've certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. And all these winning picks and no losers whatsoever under any circumstances. Never
None,
happened, won't
ever.
happen again.
Never lost.
Never lost. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. We're going live. We're going to do it live. We're having fun with this, and we love hearing from you guys in ways that we can make the show better, hitting stuff that you want to talk about maybe a little bit harder, or maybe, me stop bloviating about how the Houston Rockets are trying to kill me. So let us know what you guys are thinking. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit up linemovement.com for all your latest betting news, and use blitzbet.eu if you want to put down some money on some of these games. I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. That's been Matt LaMarca. We'll see you guys soon.